Okay. And good morning. Great rising, grand awakening, and good early morning, souls. Forgive the expression on my face as I was so busy trying to get everything set up backstage. So I apologize for the confused look on my face. I hope that everyone has had a wonderful, wonderful night of sleep. I'm so excited for you to join me this morning. We are kicking off Harlem Holistic Wellness Week 2020, H2W 2020. And this is going to be a week filled with panel discussions, demonstrations, explorations, vendor spotlights, and we're covering everything. It's Wellness 360, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, relational, financial, you name it. We got it. And I'm so excited to be a part of it and bringing it to you and kicking it off this morning. Earlier this morning, I premiered the sunrise meditation that I'm offering every morning this week. So I'm happy for you to find the link for that and engage. But this morning, I am thrilled to introduce and welcome my special guest, Tori Washington. Tori is a bodybuilder, NASM board certified sports coach. It is early in the morning. He is an animal lover, a sprinter, and he has inspired tens of thousands and continues to inspire tens of thousands of people into fitness in their life and promoting vegan lifestyles. Check out his website. He's got amazing guides on nourishing your body and priming your body through food and fitness. So I'm welcoming Tori. When we first discussed this, you were actually going to be here in New York, but thus is the world we live in now, and you're joining us from Florida. Good early morning and grand rising.
Grand rising to you, my sister. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to help kick off your Wellness Week, and thank you, and so grateful that you have me on board, and I appreciate it. How are you?
Oh, I'm happy to see you. I know you and I have been trying to connect all week, and you've been super busy helping all the people that you help. And it seems that everyone I know in this space of wellness is busier than ever. Yeah. And it seems like we all are in need of a little wellness vacation ourselves. So it's very interesting that there is this busyness happening at a much higher level. And like I said, I'm just so honored and grateful that you were able to carve out some time from your really, really busy schedule to be with us, because I know you're doing amazing work and you're super busy. So we're grateful and happy for you to be here.
Thank you.
So the last time we saw each other was about 4 years ago, and you were on the rise. And I remember when we bumped into each other at I think it was a reunion, maybe about 10 years ago. It was in the early 2000s, and you were just beginning your bodybuilding career. And I remember all of that. And now here we are, fast forward, and you're like, I when I was sending out the promo, somebody was like, he's famous, he's like famous in the plant. I'm like, I know, he's amazing. So, it's a very inspiring journey that you've taken from a business standpoint. And tell us a little bit about what keeps you inspired. And I'm really going to use this as an opportunity for you to share what you want to communicate to people and what you think is so important for them to know right now.
Well, thank you for that intro. And just to be clear, I really, started out with the idea that I've always wanted to serve mankind, but I didn't have the idea what capacity that was going to entail. And when I took the journey about 2009 to actually go into the world of bodybuilding just to compete, because it was something that came up to me where I didn't want to end this life or end my life, this journey, with the mindset, with on my mind having the idea that, okay, I wish I did or I should have. And so I said it with regard, I don't want to do that. So I wanted to go ahead and say, you know what, let me compete in bodybuilding and see how far I can take it. And after doing my first show, my first and second show actually really put me in the space to say, you know what, this is something I can continue doing. So I started continuing doing that. And the whole wellness aspect of it, where it came from, is I had always wanted to see if I could follow my dreams, maybe I could help other people recognize and realize that whatever their desire is, if they give it enough effort, that they could actually do or become what they've always wanted to do versus just doing something just because or doing something just to pay the bills.
I think that's a really important distinction, that your passion is your fuel and what drives you. And when that passion has purpose, even more so. And, I've always felt that you were a kindred soul, and you just saying what you did confirmed it for me, because I definitely understand that calling to want to serve in some way,
Right,
being able to see that things aren't quite right, and how do we make this thing better.
right,
And I believe that it all starts with the individual, and when we can all come online with our power, imagine if the whole world came online individually, what we could do together. And
yeah,
strengthening our minds, our bodies, our souls is so critical to this. If we're not able to help ourselves, we can't help others. So I love your journey in that you helped yourself, in terms of exploring this. And
right.
so where did the vegan aspect come in? And I've read a little bit, and I'm sure people know, but for people who are just tuning in, share that journey and that passion.
Well, the whole aspect. Now, I just want to start out when it comes to being vegan, because we live in a society where labels identify you. Therein lies that label. Now, I have always had the idea that I didn't want it to be just being vegan. I wanted it to be just the way it is. So therefore, there will come a time in the future that you don't have to say, "Oh, you're vegan," "Oh, you're this," "Oh, you're that," because it'll just be the way that people actually consume nutrition. So when you think about it, before the idea of vegan came into play, people just ate food, and that food, of course, entailed animal flesh prior to a certain time in history. Now we have different labels for the way people eat. You have pescatarian, you have paleo, you have vegan, you have vegetarian, and so on. So I was raised vegetarian, and I was raised vegetarian by my mother. And she raised us vegetarian because of her lifestyle of being a Seventh Day Adventist.
Hmm.
What most people know about Seventh Day Adventists is that Seventh Day Adventists worship on today. Saturday is their day of worship, where they practice church, where they practice you know, giving all the glory to God. And so part of that is that they're also treating their body as a temple, meaning that they're utilizing the God given fruits from the earth, basically what is given in Garden of Eden. And that's their health message. Now, of course, peer pressure, living amongst those who the majority of population that don't necessarily follow that type of law or that type of understanding. There are some Seventh-day Adventists who decided to go ahead and still eat chicken or what have you, and just say, "Hey, I'll pray over it," or what have you. And this is not to knock against people who eat meat at this time, because that's never been my methodology, is to bash you for doing what you're doing, but just to kind of give you a background of how I got started. So, being vegetarian and then living in Jamaica, because real quick, short story. I mean, unless we talk about it later, my mother sent us to Jamaica to live with my grandparents, And while in Jamaica, of course, she really couldn't control what they gave us because they were doing they were helping her and helping us by having us stay with them so we could go to school and be taken care of while she got things together. And so we came off of the vegetarian lifestyle, but we never had the consumption of pig. So when I came back to the States, eventually I decided to make that switch back. And that came about because of looking into the school of thought of Rastafari. And Rastafari was what led me down that path from being Ital, because I started to recognize that, okay, Rasta is Ital. What is Ital? Ital is natural, eating from the earth. And I realized that a lot of Rastas that I knew still ate chicken and fish and those types of things. And I said, well, that's not really Aita. Like, how do you call yourself a Rasta if you still eat chicken and you still eat fish? Those are still animals. And
Mhm.
I decided to make that shift and said, I just want to make sure that everything I put in my body is not hypocritical. It was all about integrity for me. And so I made that shift in 98. And so when I made that shift in 98, I never looked back. It was something that was so easy for me because I have the mindset, if I'm going to do something and I'm really going to do it, it's just a light switch. And I got into it, and I didn't know the terminology of being vegan. It was just me just not consuming any animal. And it's not until later on in my life when would ask me what I eat and how I eat, and I would explain it, then they gave the idea, oh, you're vegan. And I had to actually look that up and understand what that meant, because
Mhm.
when you say vegan, it's not just what you eat. It's a lifestyle too, because it's also the clothes you put on your body, just a lot of different things, leather, dealing with honey, because I was raised on peanut butter and honey. Peanut butter and honey was one
Mhm.
of my staples. So to tell me now, yo, you can't eat honey no more, because it's part of destroying the bees' natural habitat by taking the honey from them. And so understanding all of that, and up until now I'm vegan with the label for everything. When it comes to the environment, when it comes to betterment of humanity, when it comes to our health, when it comes to the animals, when it comes to me as an individual, and making sure that our impact or our impact on this earth and this planet is minimal to survive.
Right. And I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's important to have people like yourself who can represent, be a model on how this is done. And, it's not for everybody. And I recognize that. And like you said, it's not about bashing people for what they do, but for people who want to do this. And I believe that myself, I have thought about becoming vegan for a long time. My challenge is I'm also gluten free. I'm gluten sensitive.
Mm.
So being a gluten sensitive vegetarian vegan, not impossible, but more work involved. And so then it really becomes about making a decision that this is now a priority because it's going to affect every single aspect of your life. So what would you say to someone like myself, or others who are thinking about becoming vegan, and what are some basic things they should be thinking about or considering in that process?
So basically, so a lot of times you have people ask you, and I know a lot of times in the vegan community, we're like, really? That is so easy, because they'll say, what do you eat? I don't know what to eat that's vegan. And a lot of times that boils down to most people's plate consists of an animal, some vegetable, and a starch, right? Let's just say that's a generic plate. So all you do is remove the animal, right? So you remove the animal and you can replace it with another vegetable if you like to, or you can replace it with some people call it starch, but you can replace it with a starch that contains a protein as well, which is like a bean, for example.
Hmm.
So rice and peas is a good example. People look at it like, oh, it's all carbohydrates. Not actually. Even when you think of, I'll get back to that. Even when you think of a watermelon, people look at watermelon and say, oh, watermelon is fruit. There's no protein in there.
Mhm.
That's not true. So a medium size or a regular size watermelon contains about 26 grams of protein. And a lot of people don't realize that because they don't look at fruits and vegetables as the protein stores. And because we've been given so much, we've been indoctrinated with so much information, almost misinformation, to set us on a path to believe that we can only get the protein we're looking for from animals. And if you look at that process, when you look at even the process that an animal goes through in order to be on your plate, it's not akin to a compassionate lifestyle because you're putting in, you're designing a mass production line, it's like an automobile, to infatuate the human race with this idea that you can only get protein from animals. So most people then look at it as like, oh, I'm okay with that because now I'm getting my food. But if they were actually there to see the process and understand what goes on, they would probably look at it differently, like, maybe there's another way. So when it comes to those who are like gluten free, or there's a lot of people who are even have nut allergies, because now we live in a day and age where there's so much different things available. For example, I know pea protein is very accessible, and pea protein is it can be. Have you ever heard of TVP?
No. So you said what kind of protein? Tea protein?
P as in Peter. Peter E.
Okay, pea protein. Okay.
Rice and peas. Take out the S. Right.
Okay. Okay.
So the pea
I've never heard of pea protein. No. I
yeah.
know that beans contain them, but yeah.
So basically, TVP is a texturized vegetable protein, and what it is dehydrated, but it's soy based. And a lot of people look at soy as the the devil per se. Like soy is
Mm.
bad for you. But if you look at the cow, and when they create their milk, and people take that and pasteurize it or turn it into yogurt, what have you, their milk produces more estrogen than you need. And a lot of times we think, oh, soy is going to make estrogen in our bodies. And that's not necessarily the case. There's phytoestrogen, and that's a different type of estrogen, and not the same heavy estrogen producing that you get when you eat dairy products or things of that nature. So, pea
Mhm.
protein, let's go back to that. There's a product out there called by a company called Longev Brands. It's Longeve brands, and it's a dehydrated pea protein. And the macronutrient breakdown on it is 40 grams of protein per serving, 3 grams of carbs, 3 grams of fat. So if you look at that, that in and of itself is heavy on the protein, and it's
Mm.
not gluten based. It's not soy based. And so when it comes to people looking for that, there's one option as well. And but you're right when it comes to gluten, it's tough because people like bread. Of course, there are gluten-free breads. They're not that great.
No, I don't even eat. I like haven't had a piece of bread in about 7 or 8 years, and
Mhm.
I honestly don't miss it. And I've tasted gluten-free bread, and I'd rather pass. So it's easier. I have a thing. I have a theory about substitutions.
Yeah.
If somebody tells you this is like a cheese, and then you're expecting it to taste a certain way, just if you're trying a new food, just try it and see how you respond to it. But as soon as we begin to liken it to it's supposed to be like bread or like cheese or like meat or whatever, we run the risk of being sorely disappointed. So
And, and I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of
Mhm.
times our mind has already been set on a certain,
Mhm.
you know, um, idea because we're so our experience. So I almost don't like to tell people that's what it is. I'll just say, just have this and
Yeah.
then taste it, and it's different that way because you can make cheese out of potatoes and carrots, and it tastes just like it when it comes to sort of like a mac and cheese type style.
Mhm.
And of course, you have noodles that are gluten free, but there's so many different ways to do things. And a lot of times, I think what also scares people is when they see these things that are mimicking the meat per se. And in and of itself, meat is just a word. It's a word that we associated with flesh from an animal.
Mhm.
So you can associate that word with anything else. Just like people wanted to say in our culture, they take the N word. Oh, it's a term of endearment now. We're associated with something else. Then why not do that with the word meat? Therefore you don't have to say, well, it's not meat. because I've had people had food that's supposedly supposed to imitate their chicken breast,
Hmm.
and I say, man, that was good. That chicken was good, and then someone else will say it wasn't chicken, but they still said it was good. They agreed, they enjoyed it, and it tasted and looked like what they were used to. Those things are created to kind of give, because there's a lot more people on the earth that are of the mindset they want to have something that's familiar. And so I always say it's okay to start with those products that are familiar to what you're used to, because what you're doing, they're healthier to an extent that they're not high on the cholesterol, high on the triglyceride, the triglycerides when it comes to the fat content.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're not from animal flesh, so you're getting more plant protein in you, and it's
Right.
it lessens the opportunity for you down the line. Because what we tend to do is we look at it as we look at it as, I'm gonna continue eating because I'm fine, but we don't think about a compound effect. The compound effect of over time,
Hmm.
your colon gets backed up and backed up and backed up and backed up. And then now you have so much toxins in your body that aren't able to be expelled through your colon, that it starts to disseminate within your body. And it shows
Yep.
up later on in life. And now you have these issues and you don't know where they came from. Now you're going to the doctor or what have you, and they're telling you, oh, okay, cut back on your red meat intake. And you're thinking, I would think, okay, maybe I shouldn't have had all that red meat. But now you're listening to
Yeah.
someone because they're in a white coat and they're telling you that your life is on the line. But maybe in the past, someone said to you, man, you should cut that out a little bit and go more greens and fruits. And you're like, man, forget that. That don't taste good. And then later on in life, now you're being told that, but you're 60. And
Yeah.
now you're on the back end. And we tend to do that. We almost wait till something puts us back to the wall.
Always.
I gotta make a change.
It's like pay attention now or pay dearly later. Right? So it becomes a choice. That's how I've come to look at it, and that's why I've adopted, and many people think some of the way I live and the things I do are also different,
Right.
and I embrace being different because it works for me. And I think you made this point about the doctor in the white coat, and we assign we have no agency. We just wholesale said, okay, you tell me what to do. And
Right.
we're not critically thinking about what's best for us. And we don't know how to listen to our bodies. We wait until we are broken and we can't, because I think the idea is as long as I can push it into the next day, I'm okay.
Mhm.
But the moment I can't like make it go into the next day and I fall down, I don't know how to get up, it's a problem. And if
Right.
we wait until that time, now it's critical. Now it's mission critical, and we can't, now we have to do this is the pay dearly part.
Right.
So I want to ask you quickly about foods. A lot of the vegan foods that are out there, the processed foods that are out there, what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm not a big processed food person, and I've actually seen your videos where you're cooking and you made it look super good and delicious. And what are your thoughts of
Mirrors.
what was that?
I'm joking.
You said
That's
smoke
all
and
smoke
mirrors.
and mirrors, girl.
Oh my gosh. But what are your thoughts on, because I think this is the first place people go when they're like, oh, I'm going to become vegan. So they go to the store and they go to that one little section where it's got all the vegan meat and the vegan this and the vegan that. What are your thoughts about the processed foods available that are vegan?
So there you have many different versions. You have some that are very minimally processed, but they tend to be more on the, what do you call it? Uh, More earthy per se, where they have a lot more vegetables, and they don't have that familiar taste you're looking for. Like what I was talking about earlier, a lot of people want that familiarity. They want to bite into a burger that has a burger texture versus having a bean texture. And sometimes that bean textures can be off-putting. And so when it's off-putting, we tend to not go that way again. So I'm okay with those things, like I said, because I want those things kind of help people go continue, because then now they have this idea that, okay, vegan can be good. And it's processed, but it's processed in a way. I know a lot of times we put a certain denotion on process as being not good for you. Now, it's okay to include them at a certain time because there's some sanity that people need in order to maintain on a process or a lifestyle that is different from something they've been doing 40, 50 years or 30 years, what have you. And what it leads to is they may end up going, you know what, I want to have more fresh fruits, whole foods. And that is definitely possible. And so when you have the understanding that protein per se is not such a major requirement when it comes to how much you need for your body, depending on what you're doing. If you look at the recommended daily allowance for a male, protein is 56 grams. A woman is a 46 grams. And that's not a high number. That number can be done with just whole foods if you needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that means you can just eat a myriad of different vegetables, fruits, green juices, juices and water and things like that that we tend to forget. And when it comes to the other foods that are processed, you know, there's a lot of them that are minimally processed. Tofu, for example, I've made tofu in someone's home one time because they were showed it, and it was so simple. And so when people say, "Oh, it's so processed," not really. And if you look at on the package of most meats, it'll say minimally processed. So there was a process that went into that meat as well. Yeah, the animal is cut, killed, and then sometimes the the actual product that you see on the shelf has been injected, or the dead animal has been injected to make it look more, to give it more texture, to give it more girth. So there's process gone into it. And sometimes that process is way more, how can I say, long lasting on the body than it is what you've seen done with something that's made to look like quote unquote meat in the modern world when it comes to animal flesh.
Right. So your sense is, and generally, that these vegan foods, the processed foods, are great or good ways for people to transition
Right.
from one lifestyle into the vegan lifestyle or
Yes.
the vegan nutrition.
Correct.
And from that, they can adjust and begin to adjust their palate. And I think that that really is the main thing. And I believe, I think I have the ability to pretty much eat anything if I know that it's serving me. That helps me process it, right? Even the taste of it processes, so I'm not always likening it to anything. I realize that I'm intaking nourishment that's going to serve me, and that makes me feel better. And so, therefore, the taste doesn't become as critical. But you do, well, I don't know how much cooking you actually do, but I've seen you do. You were like, smoke and mirrors, but
Not
um,
smoke and mirrors of how good it looked, but
yeah, how good it looks. Well, I know that you offer guides on nutrition,
yeah.
and this is so important. If somebody were going to attempt to, go vegan and they wanted to prepare some foods, what are 2 or 3 easy dishes that you think would be satisfying to the palate and easy for them to make or consume?
So the one that you saw the video, I have a couple of videos. I know the one I did called the Eitel dish, which is it's sweet potatoes with a bunch of mixed peppers
That's
and green
one.
beans. That one's
Yeah.
so good. That one's very tasty, and it's simple because it's just tossing the potatoes in the oven, and you're just in a small skillet putting the vegetables together, and then you toss it together, and so you have a nice balance of different micronutrients and macronutrients. And when it comes to something else that's simple, that's usually a breakfast or it can be done whatever, it's made to kind of give the idea of, here I'm giving you the term eggs, but it's not necessarily eggs, scrambled tofu. And scrambled tofu is really seasoned. There's many ways to do it. It almost can take the place for aki,
Ah,
because the same
yeah.
the same kind of gives it a similar texture, and you can give it a different color with the turmeric, which is something that's a very important seasoning that's good for it's good for inflammation, antimicrobial, and what have you, and it helps us throughout our day. So scrambled tofu is so simple. You basically get an extra firm tofu, you break it up, put it into your skillet with a little oil or whatever you want to use, and you just toss it with good seasoning, salt, pepper, however you want to do it. I like to use a lot of cayenne or scotch bonnet or something to make it very spicy.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about cayenne is, it's very good for the blood. It's very good for detox. And, it's also just good for overall wellness. So now you're having in cayenne and turmeric, so you're getting a double whammy. So
Mm.
that's still the two simple dishes that can be done. And oatmeal. Oatmeal is easy. It's
Yeah.
almond milk if you want to, or water.
Mm-hmm.
With people who are not have a nut don't have a nut allergy, can add peanut butter to it, or they can add you can add blackstrap molasses, get that extra iron in there. Yes, it's gonna change the color. Raisins, you can add fruit, you can add raspberries, you can add blueberries, all these different things. Now you got a balanced meal there, and that's protein, carbohydrates, fats, micronutrients, antioxidants, high on the ORAC value. So you have those are right there. I just gave you that's 3 meals. 3 meals. And if you wanted to add to your scrambled tofu, you can put some roasted potatoes on the side, or you can throw into your tofu some spinach, some kale, So now you have a meal, a whole bowl available for you, and right there you have it's that plate in itself is going to be higher on the protein level, low on the carbs, because a lot of times people consider carbs fattening, and carbs aren't. Carbs are not the enemy. They are a calorie, they're energy just as well as anything else, but people metabolize carbohydrates differently when it comes to their body own unique makeup. So those are three simple things that are easy, and drink lots of water. If you find
Yes.
water, not
I
drinking water.
just, yeah, water. I just did a show yesterday. I have a show every Friday called Fridays on Fire with Lloyd Leary, and we did water. We did breath and water inside out yesterday. So for anybody who missed yesterday's show, please go back and watch that because we talk about water in a big, big way. And I mean, that's just basic foundational. So when we talk about protein and power of vegan life, um, people know you for your bodybuilding as well as your vegan lifestyle. So you have proven that you can build muscle using vegetable protein, plant-based protein, and and compete and win. And this is a real thing. This has really set you apart in this world so greatly and inspired so many people. So for I'll speak for myself, someone who has always wanted to get in shape, and have the core strength that I want, and, toned muscles. And now, in my late 50s, what does that look like? Do you work with women? Is it ever too late? What does that look like? And how should people start if they're starting from ground zero?
So first, yes, it's never too late because as we age, our muscles tend to become more atrophied because we're not using them as much, and that's just normal. But you can keep the testosterone going by your activity and the type of activity. And I work with women typically more than men, and that's only because I think men tend to have more of an ego when it comes to that. And I can do it myself. I don't need you for helping me do that. But so, and women are they're more inclined to look for help. And so I've worked with a lot more women when it comes to competition, getting that competition look, growing their assets per se, tightening up, tightening, toning the lower body, and what have you. And I've worked with women in their late 50s as well, and still do. And so it's not too late at all. The thing about the body was made to move. It's made to be a vessel that moves around because we have a skeletal system and our muscles to move that skeletal system. So and the cartilage in our between our joints to ease movement. And of course, as we get older, it goes down a little bit. So I want to say basically that when you want to start out with more body weight type stuff, and meaning like push-ups, using bands, things like that to kind of get your body in a place to where you're now gaining strength because For example, a lot of people doing home workouts, these things tend to help maintain the muscle that you have and also help to strengthen you and tighten you in at a certain capacity. Because lifting weights, of course, kind of changes that, or it puts you at more of an advantage. So now you're fighting gravity more than just your physical body. And so,
Right.
but using your body weight and starting there helps to challenge you, because now when you use your body weight, you're pretty much using all of it because you're doing a lot of multi-joint movements. It's hard for you to do a dumbbell curl by using just your body weight. So you have to pull yourself up, which then in of itself, you're using your body weight to build your biceps, shoulders, back, and what have you. And so I think it's just good to start out slow, especially if you're in your late 50s. You want to start out with movements that you're used to doing. For example, getting up from the couch. So you're doing squat movements where you can get up from the couch, go up, down and up, down and up. Tricep movements that you could do on chairs. You can do small crunches on the floor or on your bed, things like that that kind of keep you in a place where you're not causing yourself having to get down to the ground and back up. Now, there's a gentleman that I do work with. He feels so much stronger now. He's going to be 60 and he looks really good. And he said he's never felt like this because he's never trained that way. So I'm training him as if he was 25 because I'm pushing him and allowing him to not really keep him out of that mindset that he's 60. And I think a lot of times we defeat ourselves right there when we put ourselves like, okay, I'm old. I don't know if I can do this. But you're only as old as you say you are. So if your body is going to show, but you still can keep that look to where as you age, you're still maintaining muscle, you're eating well, you're staying hydrated, and you're doing what is necessary to keep yourself going. It's all about the quality of life, not necessarily living to like 110. It's to living to that point when inevitable death reaches you, that you lived a full life and you took care of the vessel or the vehicle that you're using.
Hmm. Yeah, and being vital
Yeah,
in your life. And that's what I liked when you were talking about the ITIL, your ITIL. It's like when you think of vital, it kind of all makes sense,
right.
So I'm sure there's some derivative in there in the meaning, but that's what struck me immediately when you were talking about it, was the relationship. And as far as, the working out, I'm not looking to become a bodybuilder or compete, but really just to get in shape. I think one of the challenges I personally had is I'm very active in terms of moving around in my day, but certain movements, if I find myself, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm not a gym lover at all, but I will go for the weights because I know I need to build muscle. But
Right.
then you might pull something or injure something. So I've found myself getting sidelined because something started to hurt, or and I'm trying to go slow, but even if and then this hurts, and then you have to let that heal and let the inflammation go down, and then so it's a lot of stops and starts. Are there any like basic warm up things that you would recommend that are very uh, useful, effective is the word I'm looking for, in helping people prime up for that?
So push-ups, right? Push-ups usually are driven from the floor. You can actually start push-ups from the wall. You just put yourself in a slight incline into the wall and you're pushing yourself off the wall. Now, mind you, what's important about where your hand placement is, because if your hands are too far apart, where you're kind of putting yourself in a T, so for example, like if you stretch your arms out to measure your wingspan, that's not where you want your arms to be in a push-up, because therefore you're putting a lot more undue pressure on the shoulder joint. And of course, as you age, we tend to have shoulder problems because we haven't taken care of our rotator cuffs over the years, and we've just do stuff. And of course, we're living our life not paying attention to things that need to be taken care of. So I would, you want to put the push up to where your hands are in your shoulders, but your arms are closer to your body, more of a 45-degree angle away from your body. we call it protect your underarms, right? So instead of getting very close, which is more of a yoga and triceps focus, you want to get more just about 45 degrees away, causing you to put more onto the chest, but you're also using your shoulders, you're also using your triceps as well. And that's a good warm up to start with, because now you're getting to a point where you can slowly inch your way down to the floor. But I know a lot of people, it's going to be hard to get back up. So we had to be careful there too. And so that's another great point to show that a lot of times we might need someone to coach us through it. We might need a trainer. And I think a lot of times we don't feel like we can afford it, but there's a trainer out there for everybody. So there's somebody who fits your budget, and hopefully they're good. They can show you things that you can do, because I can tell you what to do, but then if you go do it improperly without me directing you fully, it can be a problem. All right. So that's why I'm glad there's a lot of apps out there. I'm part of an app with Chris Hemsworth that's called Center Fit app. And that in that app, I have my coaching. There's a lot of different coaching from a lot of great athletes that we're all part of Chris Hemsworth's team of athletes that he chose to be a part of this program to help people at home work out. And of course, you can use bands. Bands help you because you can stand or sit using bands, and these bands can help strengthen you. Light dumbbells, I'm talking for your 50 plus people who haven't been to a gym, and getting small weights, talking about 3 pounds, 5 pounds. They don't seem like a lot, but when it comes to building muscle, it's not just about heavy weight. There's volume and frequency, because when you utilize these things and you do it on a consistent basis, consistency is key.
Yes.
You'll see changes, and consistency is key with everything. And it's not just saying that, even with your waking up time, getting enough sleep, recovery, drinking your water, as we talked about, it's consistency, and doing this 66 days is what I've researched now is the prime number, where if you can do it for 66 days, it can become a consistent lifestyle part of you, where it's not a diet, or it's not, I'm just now training. It's my lifestyle. This is what I do. I get up, do this, or I do it later. However you set it up for your lifestyle, because it needs to be set according to what the lifestyle you lead.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. 66 days. So we're talking a little over 2 months.
Right.
About what was that?
You can hear it was 30, but sometimes people after 30, they'll go right back.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else. We have to build that muscle. And I talk about that all the time with breathing, that we need to have a practice so that the breath can serve us when we need it. We don't have to be grasping for it. Just as if you trip and fall, if you don't have a strong core, you're going to injure yourself if you fall down, versus if you have a strong core, you can just get right back up. And I think that's really important. What was the name of the app that you mentioned?
Center Fit. So, but it's CENTR Fit, FIT.
Okay, because I'm taking notes here. Okay. So, yeah, I'm probably going to get that out.
Okay. I just realized that my computer has 2% battery. I need to plug it in.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on a hold real quick while I go get the charger.
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay, you go do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to acknowledge all the comments that have been coming in. So good timing. Thank you.
All right, I'll be right there. Hold on a
second. All right. So guys, thank you so much. I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody that I see that's watching out there. So we've got Coach Dave. Thank you so much. Dr. Flora. Pow. I see you. Felicia Graham. I see you out there. Thank you. Carell. Darian. Hey, how are you? Debbie, Keith. Harlem Holistic Wellness Week Committee. Harlem Holistic Wellness Week kicks off today. So be sure to check out harlemholisticwellnessweek.com, Harlem Holistic Wellness Week H2W 2020 on Facebook. So to stay tuned, I've got a sunrise meditation premiering today. Dr. Flora has a sunset meditation that is going to be coming up. Millie, hey, I see you out there. And all you guys, if you have any questions, please, feel free to drop them in here and ask. I'll be happy to ask Tori on your behalf what that Okay, I'm just looking to see who else is here. Okay. Keith Williams. Haha, yes. And Tori is back. Good. Well, we've got really excited people tuned in this morning, uh, watching you. And of course, they'll be able to catch the replay of this. It will be on demand. And I encourage people to share this with anyone because Tori's been giving us some amazing, amazing insights and just these little nuggets that can help. And I asked the question about age because I don't really believe in age. I think it is what you decide it is. If you think you're too old for something, then you are. And I always like to feel like I'm just getting started,
Yeah.
even though there's some days I know I need a little bit more rest than others. Like there is a big nap in my future today. But I think it's really important for people to be able to find their motivation. And I think what you've been able to do using vegan nutrition to build your body into such a work of a powerful fitness and strength that is inspiring to so many and proving what is possible. And
Right.
I think that is the most um, profound part of all this. And I love the way your mind thinks. I completely get it. You are so driven to serve people in so many ways, and the products that you offer, the Nourish guide, talks about all of the vegan nutrition. And then you also have a primer guide, I noticed. And so what is that geared toward?
So
Who
primer,
is that geared toward?
well, it can be generally given to everyone, especially men and women, because I get that question often. Can women use that program? And yes, they surely can, because I think the misconception was that women shouldn't train like men. That's not true. It all depends on what their goals are, because everybody has a unique set of goals that they want themselves to look like. So, and for me, bodybuilding has been my gift, and it was a gift that I utilized to put me in a place to where I can have a platform to inspire others to do things that they love to do. And not to say that this is the only thing out there, just like when it comes to the only way to be quote unquote vegan, you have, like we said before, there's so many different ways to eat that way and consider it that. And there's also this notion that if you don't do it my way, then you're not doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a mentality that needs to change with people, because to make it seem as though you have to do it the way that this person is doing it, and if you're not doing it that way, then you're not doing it right. That's an improper way to think. So I created primer. I know that was a little blurred, but I created primer to for the individual that's looking to build their physique from a basic foundation. When I say that is, when you look in social media, you have a lot of people doing fancy different moves to kind of incite people to want to click and see who this person is, because they're doing something that I find amazing. We live in a day and age where it's all about, it's driven by drama, it's driven by, I say creativity, but sometimes we create these movements just that are very similar to the basic movement and do the same thing, but it looks fancy. It looks so much, it's more hype. It makes it, you're like, wow. When you break it down in a foundational aspect, oh, it's working my quads. I can do that with this. Because then you look at it and it's like, oh, I can't do that because I don't have that type of equipment, or I'm not that agile, or not have that type of mobility. But you can do that same movement with this. So I created the primer for that person that's looking to bodybuild with foundational movements, because we all started with foundational movements. I don't care who you are when it comes to the person that's getting on a bodybuilding stage, or who's just into lifting. Even your football players, they start out with bench press, squat, deadlift, things like that are power movements. And so what my primer is it's breaking down fundamentally how you do these exercises, all these different exercises. I have videos set up and everything for that person that needs for change. Now, mind you, it can be difficult, because I've had emails and text messages, not text messages, DMs of people saying, "Man, my legs are burning 3 days later. I hate you right now. But that's because of what I push the person that's doing it naturally to do, because naturally we can handle much more when our muscles are called to play. What tends to give out first is our mind. And so when
Mm.
you push past that, you can push your body to that limit that you thought you had and then some. Because a lot of times we place limits on ourselves based on someone else's opinion, just like someone else that says, hey, you shouldn't eat this way because I say this or I've researched this. It's all about letting those individuals come to their own in their own time. And so
Mhm.
I created that requirement with that in mind. It was hard for me to do that, to be honest with you, because I'm a person to person type thing. Where I like to engage with the individual to watch their mechanics, to watch their body, how their body moves. Because we all have a different setup. We have been going through life with our body adapting to how we live. And so you may have knock knees, and it's not necessary that you have knock knees. It's you have muscles that are tight and muscles that are not engaged. So your body adjusts to that process so that you can walk. So what you
Mm.
need to do is learn how to correct that. And it takes time, but it takes time and it takes consistency to do that.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in the video directing you how to do a squat, and then someone will send me a video like, so this is, am I doing it right? And you're like, oh my goodness, that is not how I did it in the video. And so I was concerned about that. And of course, you're gonna have your critics. Oh, what are you doing? Blah blah blah. And I had to get over all of that because that was the part that I had to not let my ego get in the way of my success. Because yeah, you're gonna have your one or two people that are gonna critique it, and then you're gonna have people that don't do it, and then you're gonna have people that do it wrong. But you have to know that what you're putting out there will serve mankind the way that you want it to. So now I was happy with it and put it out, and hopefully I can put out some more. But they do take a lot of work to create that because you have to have the crew to make it efficient and work well.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you did. And, while you were sharing, you made some really interesting points. And one was about honoring yourself, that if somebody's not doing it this way or the other. And when we try to force our way or what we think is the right thing, then that person is forced to potentially dishonor their own uniqueness of
Right,
who they are. And
right,
this is why it's so important for people to be in touch with, again, why breath and meditation is so important, and basic self-care, water, etc., so that we can be in touch with who we are and listen to our bodies and know what's for us
right,
and what's not, because you'll intrinsically know. There'll be a resonance where you're like, ah, yeah, that's for me, I need to do that, or oh no, that is not for me. And then when you were talking about the guy who's like, my knees are burning, for me, that's like you're birthing a new body. And so these are the labor pains that go along with birthing a new body,
I
so
like
if you're
that. I like
yeah,
that.
so if you're in pain, that means you're moving into this, it's like every time you have a pain, that's a contraction, you're getting closer, right?
Right,
So, and just thinking of it that way. And then you talked about your critics. And I know that I'm sure you've encountered this, bodybuilding using vegan protein, people thinking you couldn't do it. I mean, you seem very determined. And when it comes to people, men and women, trying to make this change in their life, what would you say? Because you said the mind is the thing, right? That stops people before the body.
right.
How do you talk to people about mindset, and how do you encourage them to think, and because they're going to go through certain phases during this transfer, through this birth, right, through this transformation. What are the most critical factors to help people keep on track?
Progress. If people are seeing progress in their journey, it actually motivates them to want to stay the course. And when it comes to switching to this lifestyle, it depends on what they're looking to do. If it's just to eliminate animals from their current way of eating, one thing, if you notice, I said, you see how I choose my words wisely, because I don't utilize the word diet, because diet to me is just a word that people can use to get on and get off. So, for example, diet, if you break it down, it's DIE, yet. So I'm not looking to die yet. I'm looking to thrive. And so it should be a lifestyle. So if your goal is to, let's say, just get healthier per se, you have to be an individual that's mentally ready to deal with not always having your sweet tooth or salt tooth crave at every waking moment. You have to be able to condition yourself to say, you know what, is what I'm eating, I learned this the other day, is what I'm eating loving me or hurting me? So what I mean by that is,
Yeah.
what you're putting into your body, is it going to love you later or is it going to hurt you later? And a lot of times we don't think of that because we're looking just for that taste right now, that instant gratification. And the delayed aspect to instant gratification is a physical ailment that ails us later on. And then we think about all those days. We don't even think about, oh, all those times I had that instant gratification affected me now. We don't think about the delayed gratification of something that's maybe not so sweet per se. Let's say something that's made with dates versus something made with all sugar
Mhm.
and lard or whatever. That tastes good now, but it bothers you later. Something that's made with dates, it's not as sweet, but it's there. It's sweet. But one thing that you do learn once you start to change like you mentioned earlier about your palate changes and you start to open up to tasting things more, and you can eat a date and like, man, that was good.
Mhm.
You can eat a date and it's like, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'll move on, and that's because their taste buds have been perverted. And so now they don't understand what food actually tastes like.
Mhm.
So it's a process of mentally setting yourself up for that journey. And everybody's journey is as long as it can be based on that individual. And
Yeah.
so it takes their time. It takes their own time, not in your time. And
Right.
how mentally, for example, with my clients when it comes to training, a lot of times I don't start them off because I get this often. You're not going to kill us right away because I heard that your clients can't walk the next day. They're crying. They're doing this. But they're always coming back. I say that, throwing up, whatever. But I don't just start everybody off with wanting to kick their behind, because that's not how you do it. The proper way to train or encourage individuals to get better at just moving their body is to progress them into the next level every step of the way. So you start them out slowly. And one thing I think there's a misconception is that you always have to be sore after workout. That's not necessarily the case. Your research has shown that you still are building muscle, even though you're not breaking it down to the point where you're super sore the next day. You still are utilizing it and building muscle and building that that neural connection of where that muscle knows, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. So I need to get bigger and stronger for the next time. And so sometimes my encouragement can be, can be kind of harsh, but I had to get to a point to where I'm understanding that each individual is unique. Some people are pressed easy, and some people need a little bit soft touch. And so you have to be able to identify the different personalities with each individual to
Mm.
really get them continued on their process. And like I said, progress is one of those main things. When someone is steadily seeing progress and you're helping them see that progress, that's where pictures come into play. Taking pictures, because a lot of times we don't see the progress, but other individuals will that
Mm.
are around,
Mhm.
especially if you've been working out and taking care of yourself. 6 months later, you see somebody, they're like, whoa, did you age backwards? I can see a difference. And you may be like, huh, I didn't really notice. But people see it on the outside. So we just have to, it's almost like we start within, because once we're within aware of who we are, and then we work on the outside, it just all connects. And
Mhm.
we start to see that progress and we continue. And mentally, we know that, okay, I'm doing something that's gonna get me. It's a compound effect. We just continue to do it and do it and do it, and we just get better at it.
Right. And I love the compound effect. I like to talk about the boomerang effect, which is the opposite of that, which is, do it now, pay later. Right.
Yeah.
So you eat it now, it might not affect you for a minute, but 10 years later, that's going to come back and hit you. And you're going to be like, oh, where did that come from?
Right. Because we forget that there's something that are attached to our DNA, attached to our makeup, and it sticks with us. Like, for example, not to bash on anybody, because 420 just passed, but you know what 420 is?
Yes. I am Jamaican.
Yeah, man.
Okay. We share blood. Yes, I know.
Even though I know there's a lot of people that speak out, it's so great and perfect, but there's some individual that attaches and it becomes an addiction, where it's just that way. It's not to say that everybody will, but there are those who they don't recognize that it does. It changes their outlook because it does affect the brain. There's a doctor by the name of Doc Aman who does brain scans, and you'll be amazed at how much the brain is affected with what we put in our body, what we inhale, how we
Everything.
different things affect our mind and our brain, and it has a lasting effect. But you can change that by putting the brain to work too. This is also a muscle that we have to work, and you can work it with so many different things. One of the things that he mentioned that was really important to the brain is ping pong or pool table tennis, because you use it's so much mental hand-eye coordination movement that it puts the brain into work.
Yeah.
So that's another muscle that we need to utilize. We can talk about the physical
neuroplasticity, and you can start growing new connections and new networks for developing new skills. And that's really important, is to keep the brain. And I think for people now, especially that they're confined, some people are beginning to bounce off the walls because they're not going out and they're exercising or interacting. And so keeping your brain engaged is really important.
Right.
Because the whole power of the mind within all of this cannot be underplayed at all.
Right.
It's huge. It's with everything. It's just like when we talk about water and breath. I'm like, if you don't have that basic stuff, then it's going to be really hard for you to go somewhere. And so I just wanted to add a little point when we were talking about the food, and you said, we were talking about the whole taste thing, and this idea of training your palate, I think is important, because just like you can train your body, or you can read and learn, you can also train your palate. And I found, because I cut out like processed sugar and all that stuff years ago, and then I'll notice if I have something, it'll be like, oh my gosh, that's like so sweet. Like I only drink water pretty much, and maybe some tea. And that's been for so long that I don't even think about it. And then I had this like grapefruit spritzer thing, and I love grapefruit, and I was like, okay. And it was so sweet, and everybody else was like, oh, this is, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet. So your palate does change, and you become your tolerance, so little bits of sugar will now taste super sweet, and you can just change the palate. Fruit sugar is a perfect example of learning how to enjoy that, putting it in your oatmeal. Oatmeal is one of my favorite breakfast things. I think I'm going to have that when we're done here. And, I think that there are so many ways, but consistency is king and queen, depending on, who you are. This consistency wins every single time, and you can do it. But if you're stop and start and stop and start and stop and start, it's going to take you a whole lot longer to get there. It's like building a building one brick a day as opposed to one brick an hour, and you're going to just get where you need to go much quicker. And is there anything that people can do, and I'm asking this because I really want to know, to mitigate soreness after a workout? Are there any keys? Is like drinking water a lot of water, does that help mitigate all of the muscle aches and pains?
Well, one thing, the muscle is 75% water, right? And a lot of times that helps with just in general muscle growth, muscle well-being. But when it comes to soreness, well, the lactic acid aspect of it is you have a lot of it's inflammation, right? So it's just the body undergoing inflammation because it's been put under a lot of stress, and so the
Hmm.
inflammation is a reaction, just like with someone with back issues. Back issues is stress, and it can also be mental when it comes to your back issues. That's another subject, though. But when it comes to soreness, one way to mitigate that is utilizing or intaking products that are, I say products because you have things like turmeric. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory,
Hmm.
so increasing your turmeric intake. Also, green tea is good for the antioxidants because, of course, when we work out, we create free radicals, which because the body is put under stress. So I do green tea after. Also, ice plunges, ice baths, things like
Hmm.
that. Yes, tough, but an ice subjecting the body to ice after workout helps to increase T cells. And so then you go from ice to warm. It helps to refresh the blood and cause for you to have a better recovery. Foam rolling. Foam rolling is another one. It's self myofascial release, which is you've seen those long foams. Yeah.
I
So
have one.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I show a little bit of that in my bodybuilding primer guide as well. But foam rolling effectively is very good for that as well because now you create those knots in the muscle, and what foaming rolling does is kind of breaks those knots up so that the soreness is not stretched out. Because if you're training a muscle in a different way, or training a muscle that you haven't trained in a long time, you're going to be sore. There's no way to get around not being sore when it comes to that way because it's delayed onset muscle soreness, right? So it takes time. Sometimes people, depending on your intensity of your training, I've trained some days and I'm sore the same day, or I'm
Hmm.
sore right when I leave the gym, or it just takes 2, 3 days. And that's usually hard for people. If they don't get sore right away and they get it 2, 3 days later and they're doing something they have to do and now they can't walk. So a lot of those
That's
things.
happened to me.
I had two clients that the other day that she hadn't trained in 10 years, and her partner hadn't trained in about a year. So I kind of put them on the same lower level training aspect, using body weight and what have you. And the next day they couldn't use the toilet. They were having a hard time getting up from the anyway.
They got down, but they couldn't get up.
Oh my goodness! Right. So because I like to make sure that I'm hitting as many body parts as I possibly can, because a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
times I forget how to train those specific areas. And so if we're talking about overall wellness, wellness incorporates everything from the head to the toe. So
Hmm.
those are some things I would do. Simple things. Turmeric is one, anti-inflammatory, ice bath, and you know, make sure you're having foods that have a high antioxidant. Fruits, berries, and green tea, things of that nature to fight against free radicals.
Right.
Simple things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all such great insight there. And I think that, people are more of the mind now. I know that, as I mentioned earlier in the show, everyone in the wellness space is super busy. I know I've had conversations with many people who are now ready to start doing the work. And I think it's because we have so much time now.
That's good.
And yeah, so that is the blessing of this. I call it the divine gift of now, where we have an opportunity, if we embrace it, to really begin to dig deeper, explore, look inside, and start to assess and decide what we're going to do next. And I think people, and the one thing I know for sure, and this is why I'm going to be prioritizing my physical fitness, is we don't know what we're evolving into in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that doesn't necessarily should cause fear, but it should inspire thoughts of being ready and being versatile and being resilient, and exploring where you may have areas for improvement. I know my physical fitness is key for me. And, because if I had to drop and run, like something's coming and I got to go, oh, I might get left behind a little bit. I really need to up my game on that. But we need to begin to think about what kind of skills we're going to need, what kind of um, levels of resilience we need to upgrade, honestly, holistically, mind, body, soul. We need an upgrade right now.
Yeah.
And this is a great time for us to be looking at doing that.
That's true. That's true. Because, when you subject yourself to fear, you become it. Whatever you focus on becomes your reality. And if that's
Oh,
reality, it'll be your reality. Just like you said, also, whether you think you can or you can't. I mean, it's so old. You're right. And when you can do something and you focus on the can part about it, it becomes, you find ways to make it happen.
mm-hmm. Well, we all become inspired, and I think a lot of people are being inspired right now. I'm inspired by you coming on and letting me know that it's still possible for me to do some stuff. And I'm sure there's a strategy of how we go about this, because that's my whole business. I'm a strategist. So I help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And even with everything, there's a strategy. I'm not, and I use this analogy, and it's so funny. My analogy for people that want to achieve all these great things in their life, I say, well, if you wanted to lift a 1,000-pound weight and you've never lifted a weight before, you're not going to walk into the gym and walk over to the 1,000-pound weight and kill yourself. What you're going to do is get a 5-pound weight, and you're going to start lifting that 5-pound weight with consistency and repetition. And you're going to keep doing it. And then you're going to graduate to a 10-pound and a 50-pound and a 100-pound. You're going to work your way up. And I think that's the piece right there psychologically that we need to understand, that it is a process that, when we try to leap from here to here and we have no foundation, we will fall, get discouraged, and go sit down somewhere and get nothing done. But if we just focus on what you said earlier, progress, start small, do it well, master it, graduate to the next level, master that, graduate to the next level. You keep doing that with consistency, you're going to end up surpassing wherever it was you intended on going anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is very, very true. And I think I'm smiling because when you think of kids, when they're like 10, 6, they don't think like that. They think, ooh, I want to lift that. So they go to actually lift it. And, it's not until experience comes in time and becoming more wise, you recognize the aspect that, okay, I need to start here and then move up to there, but I'll get there. But when you just want to, I can do it.
And sometimes they have enough energy that they probably could just do it, and that's okay.
Right. Right.
We all get that burst of adrenaline where, it's so funny. My mom, she's had 2 knee replacements and she had back surgery about 6 months ago. So, she's a little slow in her moving, and then I said, well, we just have to really be careful about, how you're moving around. She goes, look, if somebody says fire, I'm out of here. And she's like, that is like her key. If somebody says fire, I'm going to run like a sprinter, But right now, I'm taking my time. So that's like our little inside joke. I'm like, okay, just take it easy. She's saving it up in case we need to.
Yeah.
Run.
I get it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tori, I am so, so thankful, grateful, appreciative for you coming in and spending time with us this morning. It's been so good to see you. I haven't seen you, and
wow.
I know the last time I saw you was at a funeral, which is not a
and
great.
We always say that, hey man,
I know
funerals or something.
I know. We're going to get the family together again under better circumstances for sure. I think we're all motivated. Everyone's thinking about what they're going to do when this is over. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person sometime very, very soon.
Listen, that's a whole nother subject, but I would travel regardless. It's just that I know that there's
I know.
people that aren't doing it, or they don't want me to come there, or whatever. So that's the only thing that keeps me here because Karen, I get out.
I know you do.
I'm
I look.
doing my thing, enjoying the sun, breathing in the sun, breathing and just living and enjoying life because I don't let FEAR define me as a person. I never
Mhm,
have. And I
mhm,
don't know what SICK means either because that
mhm.
never has existed in my life. And that's how I took my mind and put it there.
And
So
there you have it.
there's one thing is I saw on your comment side, I see some people asking questions and one of my friends came on. I want to say, what's up, Shema? How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm sure Keisha's watching too.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. She was so excited to hear that you were coming on.
That blew my mind because
Let me tell you, it was so crazy because she was a guest on the show. She and Michelle Rivera came on Wednesday, and we were talking about essential oils because we're all essential
I
oil lovers.
remember her in the essential oils, yes.
Yeah, right. And so we were digging in on essential oils, and at the end of the show, I was like, and tune in on Saturday. My special guest is going to be Tori Washington, vegan bodybuilder. And she, like, literally, she was like, what? No way. And I was like, yeah, she was like, he's going to be on your show. I know him, blah, blah. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, he's my cousin. She was like, what? I was like, yes. So yeah, there was a lot of synchronicities going on. And so shout out to Shema. Thanks for listening. And Keisha, I'm sure you're out there watching as well. And everyone,
I
thank you so
gotta
much.
appreciate too that you say great rising, and that's another synchronicity because I say grand rising. You know,
I interchange them. I do Great Rising, Grand Awakening.
that's what I'm saying.
So
When you said that, I was like, wow, because people say good morning, and I have become under the school of thought to, if you look at the word play and understand the etymology of words and what have you, morning sounds like we're mourning something. Like, what?
mm,
Why is it a good morning? Or break fast and all of those things. And, how you can go into so much into that, but that's why I say it's a great rising. You're grand rising. You're rising to this new day and it's grand. You got to look at it. I now get more into positive affirmations, which a lot of times people look at it, oh, it's hocus pocus. No, but it's what you tell yourself daily becomes you. So just like I know when we were from ages 0 to about 6, I think we
mhm.
absorb things easily. We can pick up languages, but once we get older, it's more repetition.
Yeah.
That's why we say consistency.
Yeah, because we're in theta.
So
We're
if you
in theta brainwave
I
mode.
am broke, or I am
Hmm.
sick, or I am worried, you will be that way. Okay, you just set it up. You set yourself there, and it's
Yep.
so hard. I don't even want to say it's hard. It's like people cannot grasp that concept that what their self-talk is defeating themselves. And it just blows my mind when I
Hmm.
and they look at me crazy, like, what are you talking about? I don't know about you, but I get sick. No. I'm like, okay.
Your mind is the biggest hocus pocus trick there is because you think it and so be it. And we don't realize the power of our thoughts. Thoughts are things. And the energy frequency around our thoughts, this is how we create.
What?
When we have an intentional thought, that is the birth, the spark of the action that is
Right.
going to come. I mean, we could do a whole other show just
What?
on mindset. So look,
Man,
come back with me and do that. Because this is the main thing. It's like, how do we get our minds together? And so much of that has to do with understanding who you are. And that's really where my passion is in digging in and helping people discover their spiritual DNA and what it means and why they're here and what they're here to do and help give direction. It's like, cleaning the windshield that has mud on it, or bugs stuck to it. All of a sudden you clean it. Now you can see direction. And for those of us that can't feel because we're confused And some of that has to do with our conditioning and our programming, the food that we've been eating, the lifestyle, the energy that we've been under. What?
We're gonna
What'd you
go another 4 hours.
Okay, so you're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about mindset when your schedule allows, because I don't know. You can always come back on a Saturday morning. I know this was a little early for you.
Well, honestly, the weekend is probably my best time because
Okay.
the one thing I had to start doing for myself, is to schedule those days that I'm just gonna do other things, not
Yeah.
because a lot of times we can let money dictate how we live. And I had to get off that, like, oh, all right, I don't need that right now. I can push that off. I already know my worth and what I'm doing. And it's because it's interesting you say that. It was something you said earlier when someone said, oh, he's famous. I have funny now, I have a lot of family members that will call me, and just because someone they just met, Washington, and I'm like, yeah, it's my cousin. No, it's not. And then they'll call me, but I may not be available. So they look bad. They're like, he's not on.
Oh wow, really? Oh man, who's doing that? We need
I've
to
had a
put them
few.
on blast.
Brian in Canada.
Oh, no, I don't know Brian that well. No, but I know there's a whole clan in Canada. I know Mark is up there and Cindy. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's funny. It happens. It happens often. I have friends every now and then. So
Yeah.
it's cool. I'm happy when I can answer the phone. Because I do answer all calls because I'm not that person to dismiss a call because I don't know the number, unless the phone actually says, hey, scam likely. But because I feel like if there's someone who might need my attention or my help, maybe using someone else's phone. And so I'm going to be there for,
Wow.
that way. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm not answering the number. I don't know.
Yeah, I must say I'm one of those people because I get so many crazy calls all the time, and I've got two numbers, and I'm like, okay, time management here. But I think I luckily I had your number and I had it saved, and then I was like, well, it's been a while. I wonder if you even had me saved in your phone, because it had been a few years since we had seen each other. And but when I text you, you were very gracious and just reached right back and were like, hey, and you were gonna come here. We were gonna actually like hang out in Harlem, and
well,
yeah,
one of the reasons I was coming is Tamara's great grandfather on the her stepdad's side. His birthday is April 2nd, and so I was gonna come for his birthday. He was gonna be 102. Right? And now, mind you, he was bedridden, so he couldn't really move. But he didn't make it. Like he was just, I think, no, he did. He made it to 101. Sorry, 101, and then he passed, I think, last week. So yeah, I would have been there and seeing him as well. But I saw him earlier this year anyway. Prior to
good.
that. And so he natural causes. He just had a long life.
Yeah, 101. I'm like, dude was doing something right. That look.
Mentally, I think he was more because he was very jovial individual. His health wasn't that great, but he, later on in life started taking better care of his health. But he was mentally a jovial person, and I think when you have that mindset of
Oh
enjoy,
yeah,
you can,
laughter
yeah,
boosts your immune system.
yes,
I mean, there's so many things
so
here.
many things.
I like to call it divine technology, right? There are all these things that if we only understood how they could impact us, we could use them. The sun, water, air, earth. Like if we just acted like a plant for a day and just got out there, and we did that consistently, we could change our whole being.
That is there's no coincidence, but it's irony in what you just said. That's one of my greatest. That's one of my quotes. I say, we are like plants. We need
I'm telling you.
earth, sunlight, air, and water.
Well, it's interesting because we don't see each other very often, usually at family reunions, but I always felt a kindredness with you, this soul connection. And, because you can be related to a lot of people.
Right.
No shade to anybody in the family. Right. But then there are those people that you would have connected with even if you weren't related. Right. And I feel that you were one of those people because I get how your mind thinks, and we have very similar motivations in terms of the work that we do and how we want to help people and our passion around it. And, working the hours that you're working, and I'm glad you're taking some time for self-care because so important. I'm going to be taking some time off soon because I've been doing like 4 shows a week and a daily breath work workshop, which I'm happy to do and I love. But it's been intense on this side too because I've lost 2 people. Uncle Dave passed. A few weeks ago. I can't even talk about that. And another Aunt Barbara's husband passed away last weekend, Saturday. So it's been a lot, and I want to make this point. A lot of people are dealing with sickness, death, loss, grief right now. And don't underestimate the impact of it because you need to process and feel those emotions because the initial is, well, there's so much I got to do. Let's just do it. Allow yourself to feel what you need to feel and honor that and let it come up because if you don't, it will come tap you on the shoulder at a moment that you are not even ready for it. You'll be doing something completely, you'll be on a Zoom conference call and all of a sudden you'll just like break down, somebody will say something and you'll lose it. So and this compromises our immune system. So it's really important to acknowledge our emotions and feel what's there so that we can, continue to evolve and grow into the highest version of ourselves, and serve because that's it. At the end of the day, the better you are, the better you can serve. And, I'm looking forward to #I need a vacation soon. I heard the fares are cheap. Is there anywhere I can go right now?
I thought about that. I said, let me buy a whole bunch of plane tickets and buy the ones with the refund policy. That way, because right now you're right, they're all cheap. Buy a whole bunch. I love to travel, so that way, if I'm not able to go, I can just get my refund back or credit or whatever it is. Because travel to me is a big thing for me. I enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. And I have places I was planning on going this year. I don't know.
I heard of the Maldives. I heard about it the other day. I was like, what?
Oh my God, did you just say the Maldives? Like, that is my place. Oh my God. Like, seriously, I just said that earlier this week. I was like, if I could go, and the Seychelles Islands, which are not too far from there. Those 2 places, like, if I could go there now, that would be my number 1 spot.
Right.
Okay, so clearly we must be a twin soul or something. I don't know. Too much, too funny. Oh, my dear, I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you. For everyone who's indulged us as we've gone, because we literally haven't seen each other. I'm so happy and glad that you came on this morning. It was a great way to kick off Harlem Holistic Wellness Week. I'm wishing you continued much success in everything that you're doing and all the people that you are inspiring and helping. And I'm going to go get that primer.
I appreciate that. And, it's interesting because I haven't really been much on Facebook, so it's because Facebook was like, Facebook, who's on that anymore? But,
a lot of people.
What's that?
A lot of people. But both Instagram and Facebook. So, they're working together now, but it's all good there too. But I'm looking forward to having you come back on.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yes. And you have an open invitation to come to New York and hang out with me.
Definitely.
Yes. Oh, my brother, I love you.
Love you too, sis.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Great and grand rest of your day.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy that sun. Thank you so much. Okay, peace. Thank you.
Welcome.
And to everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this very special The Awaken and Arise experience. Look for the next show coming up Monday at noon. Dr. Julissa Hernandez, naturopathic doctor, will be back with her regular segment on divine health. And of course, check out HarlemHolisticWellnessWeek.com to get all the live programming. There's lots of programming coming up tonight. There is a conversation. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but please, please, please check it. There's so much great information coming up and great sessions that you can participate in and watch live like you're doing just now. And please like and share with those who you feel need this information as well. And until then, I am, as always, wishing you high vibrations for the day and days ahead. Thanks so much.